Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast, and I'm pretty confident that this should be just an absolutely crazy game from what I've heard, from what I've seen. So I'm excited to get into casting it. Player introductions first, spawning up in the top right hand side of the map. It's a TVT on Blueshift, and the first player spawning in the top right is Root SuperNova. And his opponent spawning down in the bottom left-hand side of the map. He's a barcode on this account. He was practicing, but we got this replay. It is time. Let me just, since it's SC2, we got a minute at the start, but let me just check. What team is Time on? Time is on Team Newbie. So for those of you unaware, Time is the Chinese Terran player. So, and he recently sort of made a splash by making it, if I'm not mistaken, to the round of 4 in WCS Montreal, which is a big deal for a StarCraft 2 player. Like, there's only a few big tournaments like that a year, and he made it there, sort of surprising everyone. So being able to cast one of his games versus a solid guy like SuperNova is going to be really exciting to see how it's going to play out. So it is a TVT, so it can really go into a lot of ways. When playing versus a Terran, there's a lot of things that Terrans can do in StarCraft 2. They can really keep players on their toes with their build choices, whether it's going to be greedy, passive, aggressive, defensive, cheesy, whatever you want. Terran has a variety for it, pretty much in all matchups. TVTs generally, it has its sways in the meta. I mean, sometimes you'll get players that'll commit to a lot of Reapers, to a lot of Cyclones and Hellions at the start of the game to try and bully their opponent. But this game, these guys opening up pretty standard here. Reapers on the way, CCs started, nothing out of the ordinary. A slight build variation here is that SuperNova, playing it a little bit more greedy, has gone for the faster factory and the faster reactor, whereas Time, on the other hand, he went for the slower factory for the Marine before the reactor, so he's playing it safer. Now, both these guys have Reapers out on the map. It looks like SuperNova is back at home. Time's going to get in with his Reaper, and it looks like he may be able to pick off an SCV. It hides in the geyser, but SuperNova may actually be able to get it. I mean, this Reaper's going down from the looks of it. Yeah, that Reaper manages to kill it. And losing a Reaper in a TVT in the early game is something that is very, very critical. Right now we've got SuperNova. He went for that faster factory, faster reactor, and we're actually seeing double Hellion out of him. This is a little bizarre in TVT because it leaves you without the muscle of a Cyclone. On Time's side of the map, though, he must have actually beaconed in the replay there. On Time's side of the map, though, he is going for a Hellion and some Marine, so no crazy Cyclone regression in this game, which is pretty significant. As I say that, SuperNova does start 2 Cyclones now that he's got the gas, so we'll just have to wait and see. Is he going to move out? But the 2 Hellions is an interesting choice. Time making a Hellion, so he's sort of opting for Marine Hellion, possibly going to get a Medivac for a drop later on, as that sort of couples nicely together. SuperNova, on the other hand, 2 Cyclones coming out. We'll see if he techs into something else. I mean, just the 1 factory for now. Both these guys macroing up. The only thing that occurred was that Reaper dying. So it's really going to come down to how these guys are going to play. SuperNova moving out with his units could really affect this game. We'll just have to wait and see. He could get into the natural. He could get some damage done. Or Time could get a big drop-off. So we're really just going to have to wait and see. Now, the Medivac's going to pop out for Time, and he'll be able to move out with a drop. SuperNova with the Hellion stun. It's really going to help out versus Marines and SCVs, but he's actually moving in just a bit before Time went for his drop, which is actually kind of unfortunate timing for SuperNova. Not going to make any puns like that. Good micro for Time, keeping that Cyclone alive as SuperNova focused on that. He can repair that. Now, SuperNova's being forced back. It's tough to fight this army here. Now, SuperNova loses a Hellion there. He tries to get the Cyclone, and he does. It costs him a Hellion, but that's sort of an alright trade. I mean, it was 2 Hellions for a Cyclone. That's actually pretty good because the Cyclone removes a lot of muscle, and these Cyclones are actually moving up the ramp. They're going to focus down the Hellion, interestingly enough. Not sure on that choice, but these Marines, they're being microed very well by Time. He does lose a few, though, but it did cost SuperNova 2 Cyclones. The choice to focus the Hellion was an interesting one. I feel as if the Marines put out more damage there. But SuperNova really embracing the Terran Cyclone playstyle, going for another CC. Time also has his own CC on the way, and he will be playing Bio this game, whereas SuperNova, one of these guys, he likes to play a lot of mech if you ever tune into his stream. Whereas Time's a little bit more unknown as a player and sort of how's he play, just because we don't see that many matches with Time in it as far as publicly broadcast. Now, Time is getting his +1. He's going to be getting his He's going to be getting his +1 armor, +1 weapons. SuperNova, he's going into that mech style, so we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see more factories come up, I imagine, and then eventually he'll go into the tanks and try and consolidate. Cyclones are very good for defending into mech transitions. It's just a fact. I mean, they're very good early on in the game, so Time really has to hit a high bio count before he can really roll over those Cyclones. So we'll see. Where's SuperNova going to get to before Time starts to put on the aggression, because that's what Time's going to do once he realizes that it's a TVT mech game here. Alrighty, Time looks like he may want to move out, though. His stim is about halfway done. Already floating over to his third CC, and this is part of the confidence of a bio player. Now, he doesn't know for sure that SuperNova is going mech, but you see the 4 Cyclones, you can partially assume. It's not unheard of, but it generally does lead into that mech follow-up. Now, Time did get his third CC up a little bit quicker, but these guys are very equal in this game. So it's really going to come down to, is Time going to be able to get anything done versus his meching opponent here? And just seeing more Hellions and whatnot there is very important. SuperNova making Vikings while all this is going on, throwing up his armor is there. That's really what you need for the anti-air. Mass Siege Tank Viking is a pretty good composition, guys. I mean, it's very tough for players to punish. For bio players, anyway. Time is moving out. This move out looks like it will be scouted by this Hellion, or maybe not. Time keeping it a secret. I think it will be seen here as it does run in. SuperNova probably can assume here. Now, we'll see. Is he going to be ready? Yeah, he's setting up a siege tank at his natural, repositioning a little bit. And as I was saying before, Cyclones are pretty good. With a siege tank or 2 in support, this army doesn't have combat shield for Time. It does have stim, but Cyclones are pretty good versus just Marines with lower level upgrades. Vikings are now out, which are really gonna slow this push for SuperNova as long as he doesn't get baited into tank fire or anything. And he's actually gonna be able to kill off one of Time's tanks if he gets the vision. Looks like he will be able to. So SuperNova winning out on that fight. Time is gonna go for the tank. It's gonna cost him a Marine or 2, but good decision by Time to at least get that tank as a consolidation prize. Or consolation prize, not... I was thinking about that. I was like, is that the right word for that? No, it's not. Consolation. There we are. Now, Time scouting out this 4th base. The thing that you want to do as the Bio Terran is out-expand your opponent, which Time is already doing, is starting his 4th CC on location, but SuperNova, a good player with these Hellions, going to try and deny that. And then the other thing you want to do is try and contain your opponent, try and keep them feeling pressure. Time's going on with his upgrades. Going to be getting up that CC. SuperNova, though, if he gets to where he wants to be, it's going to be a very problematic situation for Time. Now, he's got his 1-1 on the way. Time is heading into his 2-2, so Time will have a pretty significant upgrade advantage here. Also, just a point of noting, if you guys are watching this video, I turned on the tooltips, which allows us to see sort of exactly the seconds in which, like, a upgrade or something has. It lets us read the tooltips and stuff for the buildings if I hover over them. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in, whether you like it. I mean, it's sort of just off default to my knowledge for most replays, but this game will just, I thought it's nice to be able to see the exact seconds that are left on things. Now, Time's got it. He's breaking down these rocks. He's really opening up this map. He's got a wall off, which is a nice. Hellion run by is very problematic. Those Hellions gonna run right by those siege tanks. Now, SuperNova sensor tower up. Barrack, if there was a flag of mech, it would literally just be a white flag or just any flag, and it would have a floating barracks on it, because that is the signature move of Terran mech. It's like, I don't need this thing, get it out of here. Now, interestingly enough, Time is getting up a fusion core. He's doing one of the options, well, really the only option, if you're the Bio Terran and you've failed to get plenty of damage done to your opponent, it's try and out-air them. It's try and outmass them. I mean, yeah, you can sometimes find an angle or two, but it's so hard. And really, you do need to eventually enter that air versus air battle, and this could be a long one, guys. Buckle up here. So, lots of scans going down on the map. These guys want to know exactly what's going on. But, yeah, Time getting up more CCs, which is important. CCs are a drop in the bucket when you're heading into late game, when you're really maxed out. So it's very good to have all those scans in a situation like this. Time's actually going for it, though. I mean, SuperNova wasn't quite sieged up, but Time has a lot of bio here. However, I mean, you can't really push into a planetary. If the planetary wasn't there, that fight would have gone a lot different, I think. But Time trades off some supply, picks off a few units here. If you look at the units lost, it was quite a bit of bio. Cyclones went down, Hellbats went down. A lot of buffer went down for SuperNova, so I'd say that wasn't the worst trade for SuperNova. We look at the resources lost, but Time's going for it again. I mean, his bio's pretty weak, though, and Siege Tanks deal so much damage here. Time had the upgrade advantage, so his army stood pretty strong, but he took a pretty negative trade there. Hold on. Alrighty, forgive me here. Okay, it doesn't have the hotkey I'm looking for. One of these days, guys, I'm gonna find out the hotkey for resources lost. I will look that up after this game, I promise. But alrighty, let's see. SuperNova is pushing on in right now. Time's getting ready for a surround. I mean, there's not that. I mean, there's a lot of tanks for SuperNova, but there's not that many. Time's coming in with a nice angle. SuperNova moving out, but a little bit too exposed as the meching player. He's losing all his tanks. He's picking off that of Times, but his Vikings are now alone. The Marines can't all stim after him, though, and they will actually overstim trying to get away. SuperNova, looks like some of his Vikings will escape, but both these guys trading out a lot of supply. SuperNova still ahead in the resources lost if we look at the bottom right. Well, there's the resources lost there. Now SuperNova, though, he's the meching player. He's on four bases. He'll probably be trying to get up to a fifth at some point, trying to sneak one or something. But both these guys traded out. They're both remaxing. However, SuperNova getting up a Raven, getting up a lot of Vikings, Time, Mass Liberators. Both these guys are going into air, and I mean, the sort of bio versus tank isn't really a factor anymore, just with the amount of air these guys are committing. Time's still going to have to try and find an angle versus SuperNova here, which can always be tough, but Time, he's getting up a fifth base right now. Taking all the bases is very important for Time. Hellions are coming on in. This is a planetary at the fourth base for Time, though, which is very important. SCV kind of gives away that there may be that fifth base going up. SuperNova picking off what he can. These Hellions still can play around this planetary fortress. Gonna get a few SCVs. Nicely done by SuperNova, getting some harassment. Actually got a little more than I thought he would there. Now SuperNova, we'll see if he starts his next CC. There it is. So eventually he'll want to try and get that, but you can stay on 3 bases or 4 bases for quite a while. Eventually he'll want that 5th base. Time is just getting ready to steamroll forward, though. I mean, he's making a lot of Vikings, making a lot of Liberators. Still producing bio is the most important part of this. The fact that he wants this ground composition, and that sort of indicates that he wants to kill off the air army of SuperNova and then find an angle with his bio at some point. Or just that he likes the bio, just it's very mobile still, it's very useful, you gotta have it. You can't literally just have Vikings, but eventually we will see Time become less and less reliant on this bio if this game progresses in this fashion, and it's certainly looking like that. We are 14 minutes into this game so far, and this TVT, it could be even longer. Now, Hellions versus a Marauder. Marauder a little bit out of his element there, getting picked off. Now, SuperNova keeping good tabs on Time, making sure that he's aware of what his opponent is getting. SuperNova getting up a Thor, continuously producing air. important part while looking at this is the air units count. 18 Vikings to 15. There's 2 Ravens. 6 Liberators on the field, but I'd give SuperNova the advantage in the air army for now, particularly on the upgrades, because he's got that +1 ship armor, which is a pretty big factor. Now SuperNova going for another annoying Hellion run by Time. I would like to see him take these gases at this 5th base. I know you need a lot of minerals, but eventually gas does become the name of the game. Time pushing in though, but looking at this, it looks like that anti-armor missile went off on the army. Not dealing as much damage as it used to, but still getting a fair bit of damage done. Really forcing Time back. These Marauders thinking about going for it, they decide against that. Time wants to find something to get done in this game though. Now, there we go. Time's taking those gases. A lot more CCs on the way here for these guys. I mean, it's already Scan City. It's gonna be Scan Metropolis pretty soon. That's right. A metropolis is bigger than a city. Guys, I'm from a small town. I would not know. So as far as this goes, let's see. Planetary Fortress on the way. SuperNova is getting up that 5th base. Sensor Tower on the way. This is where the meching Terran can sort of be pulled apart. But it can be very tough to hit multiple angles at this stage of the game for the Bioterran. It's like, yeah, I'll try and pull this guy out of position, but a few siege tanks, a planetary fortress, and turrets, like, you need a big army to take that on. Rest in peace for the barracks. Lots of scans going to scans for days. We can always turn off sound, guys, if the scan noise becomes too much. But SuperNova's pushing out now. Time wants to get something done. I mean, he's got a good bank. And eventually it can come down just to army control once they've both reached that epic late-game army. Now, as I said before, SuperNova doesn't have too many tanks on the ground. I mean, 7 tanks is a lot, but it's not that many in the grand scheme of things. Time getting up his own Raven count, pretty significant numbers. SuperNova wanting to secure this base. We're gonna see if Time is gonna let him do that. Siege tanks are gonna be able to get set up, and I mean, SuperNova's got quite a good army right now. Time wants to find something. I mean, he wants to go for it. This could be his moment right now. He's actually going for broke. SuperNova's army is very clumped up. Anti-armor missiles connecting on a lot of this army. It looks like Time's actually gonna force SuperNova back. Even throwing down a auto turret there. SuperNova good kiting with the Vikings, but he gets forced off the space he wanted to take. A missile turret's actually helping out in this fight. And missile turrets deal a lot of damage when there's no armor on those Vikings. So SuperNova, he does take a poor trade, though. Time has the bigger bank. Resources lost is still relatively close in this game. And this is what it could always come down to once they're completely mined out. And this is where the nickel and diming will become very important in StarCraft 2. Now, at Time, he's got this big Bioforce still. He wants this planetary fortress. It looks like he may be going for it. We're going to see if he's going to be able to get it. SuperNova with that repair just in time. No, it doesn't look like Time's going to have enough, and that's looking pretty rough for him, losing all that bio trying to get that planetary fortress. That was pretty rough for our Chinese Terran. Now, we'll see here. Time getting set up, securing a 6th space right now. All right. So we'll see. Time is making a lot of Thors now, interestingly enough. I mean, Thors are very good. They have their role in the ultra late game. Time almost maxed out on his ship upgrades. SuperNova almost maxed out on his ship upgrades. So eventually it will come down to this ultra late game army. I mean, if we look at the resources lost, guys, it is so close here. Time securing yet another base. I mean, he wants to take all these. SuperNova being a pain with these Hellions. If you look at the upgrades, though, Time doesn't actually have that planetary range. That would be good to see. I mean, it's helpful versus these Hellions. You want that high-sec auto-tracking. Or he does, pardon me, never mind. Forgive me in my blindness. Now, let's see. Thors Time doesn't want those dragged forward. So far, SuperNova looks like he's being able to play his game. If we look at the income, it is in the lead for SuperNova now. I mean, he's just secured this 5th and 6th space relatively soon. Liberator's getting set up. Anti-armor missiles going down. SuperNova's air army's taking a bit of a beating. Turrets are up, though, and they are going to help in this fight. Time's Thor's got dragged forward, but Liberator's picking off siege tanks. And it looks like that Time's taking another victorious air fight and is taking the lead in the resources lost. He doesn't want to bleed off anymore. Needs to be careful with those auto turrets. He wants to, I think, evacuate these Liberators at this point. Thor stepping forward for SuperNova. I think maybe time for Time's army to back off. These guys still trading, though. Time has a lot of Thors of his own. One of them's a little weak, but it would be good to see Time get plus ground weapons for these Thors. Liberator moving out for harassment. Harassment, not underrated in this situation. I mean, snowballing does happen at this stage in the game still. All it takes is one good fight. Even if your opponent has a good will need a good bank in order to replace it. And just a little hiccup here and there can really throw your opponent off. Liberator punishing these mules. So, if we look at the map right now, though, both these guys, actually every base has been secured. Maybe a little bit sooner than I thought it would be. May as well zoom all the way out right now. Lots of scans, lots of liberation zones going down. Looks like a tank or two will get picked off here. Time needs to be careful. Please repair this Thor. Time. Thors are expensive. Repair this guy. That's something I'd like to see. Time, I want to see you treat this Thor well. Now, while this game goes on, Liberator gets cleaned up. Resources lost relatively even. I mean, this could go either way still, guys. Now, SuperNova has his own Liberators up. Doesn't have advanced ballistics like Time. Alrighty. Hellions moving across the map for SuperNova, wanting to get some more harassment done. Big chunk of bio is moving out for Time, though. This planetary doesn't have any SCVs to repair it, so Time's going to go, and he should be able to engage this. As long as the SCVs aren't able to out-repair this, Time could focus down this SCVs as well. Never mind, they're not repairing. Time's moving out. He's trying to pull SuperNova out of position, and this can be tough as the meching player. You kind of need to answer every move your opponent makes, but if your opponent pulls a fast one, you could be in trouble. Liberator's set up for Time, actually. It will get picked off, unfortunately, for him. Liberators are expensive, too, but SuperNova lost the planetary fortress. It might honestly be worth it to see Time try and just get up a quick CC on the space. Eventually it's going to reach the point in which resources are so important that we're going to want to see just mining a little bit from your opponent's side of the map is actually a big deal. SuperNova is being very meticulous with this air army of his, just picking off absolutely anything he can. He does have quite a strong air army, but Time's moving in. He's trying to break this location. We'll see if he can. Actual fantastic disabling on those siege tanks. They're hit with that interference matrix. Now Thor's firing on those siege tanks, but Time is going to be forced back. Now, this siege tank, some of them did unsiege. SuperNova does have enough Thors to push this away, and Time's retreating. I mean, he's got a lot of Thors, but they could be in trouble right now. They're actually getting disabled here. SCVs could be pulled to repair these Thors, but the ground army for SuperNova, I mean, like 6 Thors is a formidable force. His base is being repaired, but Thors deal a lot of DPS. These are +3 Thors. This base not being repaired in time by Time. There's another one. Interference matrix going down on some of these Thors. Times were very weak though and weren't repaired, so this fight's very important right now. We'll see. I mean, this is actually surprisingly close. The tanks for Time doing a bit of hard work. It's 3 Thors to 2 right now. I mean, I never thought it would be such a Thor-heavy engagement, but Time does lose the space. However, he's securing the space in the bottom right that SuperNova wanted. Every bit of minerals he mines, every bit of gas is so important here. Alrighty, let's see. SuperNova's actually moving up. He's setting up a missile turret ring. He's going to shut Time out of the space. Time's actually going for it. He's remaxed on Bio. This is a lot of siege tanks, though. The Bio's tanked a fair bit of the shots. Some of the Thors were relatively weak, though, so they are going to go down from the looks of it. Looks like Time's going to break this position. SuperNova's going to be in a bit of trouble right now. I mean, both these guys, their army supply has dropped. Their bank is not that good. I mean, SuperNova's mineral income isn't that high, neither is Time's, despite them having a lot of bases. And they are starting to mine out on some of their other bases, so this game is actually getting so close. Time wants to move forward and break this. He has a lot of siege tanks, as he is playing very heavy on the mech style, still with a fair bit of bio, though, and it's getting its use. It allowed him to remax quickly and take that last engagement. Now, if we look at this, resources lost, it's important, it's very close, but Time is mining a lot of resources from SuperNova's side of the map at this stage. A Liberator's going to go in. It will be able to shut this down. SuperNova's going for some harassment, but Time having this base. Ultimately, he has mined more minerals, and if both these players hang onto their bases, will mine more minerals than his opponent. So this is actually a pretty big deal that Time has managed to mine a significant amount from these bases. I mean, even if it's just a few hundred gas, it could be very important in the long run. Raven's coming in. Actually drops a anti-armor missile to pop off that Liberator. The CC waiting for its glory days. It's just plotting over there. Now, Time's maxed or remaxing out. I mean, he's pretty high up in the army supply again. SuperNova, mech is always strong, but Time's got his own very strong unit composition now. It's not like it's just bio. Look at all these tanks. Look at all these Ravens, Thors, everything. Time's in a pretty good situation. SuperNova going for Hellion harassment once again. Very low cost for the damage it gets done, and SuperNova's done a good job with it so far this game. However, these will get cleaned up. Time's still got the base in the bottom right, and he's still got the better army for now. Liberator's going down for SuperNova, gonna siege this off. If it picks off a tank or two, that would be very nice. Tanks are expensive. I'm probably gonna say that about every unit in the game so far, but now we'll just have to see. Is Time gonna go for a ballsy break once more? I mean, Raven's moving in, they're dropping Interference Matrix, and Time is actually going for it once more. The Planetary's here to help out. SuperNova drops his own anti-armor missiles. Vikings are going to clean up the air army of Time. The Planetary's holding strong for now. It's buying a lot of time. The fact that Time's pushing into this, he's killed the Planetary, is absolutely huge. And now we'll see if he can move forward. There's not much to contest these Liberators, though. The Thor is actually able to work on them, though, so they're just not quite in position. There is 3 Marauders. Make that 2 Marauders. As Time is now pushing forward, SuperNova... SuperNova, he's in trouble. His army supply is down. He's got a strong air army, but not much of a ground. He's really starting to mine out now. Literally, there's no fresh bases in this game anymore, guys. The bottom right is, but, Time is ransacking this base. He is soiling what was SuperNova's base, and now, we'll see. SuperNova wants to take this, but it may just come down to one final fight, something like that. It's really looking rough for a Korean Terran player right now. Liberator's going to come on in, deny mining in this space. This space is actually still relatively fresh, as Time was pushed off it once or twice. SuperNova may be able to clean this up. It would be tough, but maybe he could secure it. He's actually going to lose this base down here, though, which is a big deal. SuperNova's going to have almost no economy. The resources lost in this game, if we look at this, it's so high now. 56,000 lost for Time, 55,000 for Time. That is a lot of resources. That is over 100,000 resources. Now, we'll have to see. SuperNova's actually floated a CC over. He wants to take the space. Even landing it and dropping mules is a big deal. He's sort of accepted that Time has taken his base, so these guys are actually base swapping, and this is good for SuperNova. Actually, fantastic Hellion harassment for SuperNova. This is one of Time's main mining bases, but the economy is still better for Time if we look at this. Some Marines and Marauders going to come in, clean up this harassment. Every unit matters at this point in the game. SuperNova, he's got the space secured, but I want to see some mules drops if he has the energy, and I imagine he does. He's got 5 orbital commands. Scans are important too, though. Time, once again, has all these Ravens, though, can land a lot of interference matrix. There's a lot of siege tanks, though, for SuperNova. They're busy going over to this base, though, to siege up on it. And if SuperNova picks this off, it would be very nice for him. But this could be an angle for, or an opportunity for Time to go. And Time has mainly transitioned back into Bio, but with this Raven support, he's actually going to be able to disable a lot of these tanks, and he's going to go for it. Focusing on this refinery at first is a bit of a mistake. He just needs to get right on in there. Interference matrix only lasts so long. Another one or two being dropped, though, to knock down some of these tanks. SuperNova's repairing the base, though, but he does manage to hold. Time not getting on top of that army. The tanks for SuperNova were very far back. SuperNova picking off the base in the bottom right, finally reclaiming what is his, or will be able to reclaim what's his. The tanks now shut down the other mining base at Time. Time's actually moved over to SuperNova's former base now. There's not that much there, but every mineral matters in this game. This is absolutely crazy. It could actually go to completely mined out, I mean. And these guys don't have banks. This is not a game in which these guys are at, say, 200 with 10k in the bank. No, these guys have been scrapping. These guys have lost so many resources. SuperNova's moving out. He wants to be able to pick off these tanks, and he actually will be able to with a good interference matrix there. And now Time, he's still ahead in army supply, but just barely in. I mean, breaking this base, which is pretty much one of the only mining bases left in this game. Time has that base in which he's taking for now. But SuperNova, he's got access to the bottom right base. I mean, Time's been forced off this other command center. SuperNova, we'll see. I mean, he's still got air control as well, which is a big deal. It looks like Time's looking for anything he can get. I mean, there's a lot of CCs around, and these are expensive. Suddenly, SuperNova's position is going to become a lot more drastic if he actually loses this base and everything in it. SuperNova's going to come back to try and clean this up, though. Time's got a few Ravens. That will be very important. We'll have to see how this fight's going to go down and what could possibly be the final fight. Time has to be careful with when he stims, though. Losing a few units to siege tank shots. He can't really afford to do that. It looks like he may be going for this. Needs to be so careful, though. Time resecured the space in the bottom right, so he's got an income now. Both these guys mining at least a little bit. SuperNova's actually doing a fantastic job pushing forward with these siege tanks, though. Those interference matrix are getting a lot of value, and SuperNova saves his main base right now. I mean, we'll just have to see. I mean, Time, he's still up on army supply. Both these guys are still mining a bit. If you look at the army, I mean, SuperNova's is a lot more gas heavy, but we'll see. Is Time going to be able to get something here? Picks off a Hellbatter 2. Every unit matters. Time pulls back. So I think a Hellbatter 2 for a Marine, that's worth it. Every trade's important. SuperNova, more fantastic Hellion run by. I mean, this game has been non-stop right now. And this is just such a crazy TVT. SuperNova sieging up this base once more, wants to keep it secure. I mean, just the idea of having a base is so important in this game. He's also got the bottom right, and now he's the one using his opponent's bases, being in the better economic position. Time wants to do something about this, but his income is so low. He does not have much. I mean, literally his only place to mine. I mean, there's a few resources here. I mean, there's some at this base, but his northern base has run out. A lot of his bases have run out. This base down here is pretty much his lifeline. Auto turrets going down. Gonna pick off that siege tank there. Time wants to get a good fight right now. He's actually moving in. He needs to stim. Interference matrix are gonna come down a little bit too late. He lost a fair chunk of units there, but he is gonna clean up a lot of tanks right now. He's not stimming. No, he's being so careful with not to stim as he can't afford medivacs. He's now moving in once more, going to pick off some command centers. Anti-armor missiles go down on that army, eating a lot of health. Interference matrix are going to go down on all the tanks for SuperNova. There's not much of a ground army. Fantastic anti-armor missiles going down on these Vikings. And SuperNova's forced back, and suddenly he has no ground army. He's got a siege tank on the high ground. These depots are raised. Could actually be a huge deal. This tank, every shot it gets off is going to matter. The Vikings come in, they're going to need to land, but they are all so weak. We'll see, is SuperNova going to be able to clean this up? He's still mining, but if you can't make units, having an income doesn't matter. The supply is now ahead in time drastically. His Bioforce is so weak, though. Every unit that goes down is so significant. SuperNova has a tank here. He's got some more tanks over, or a tank over at this base. Every unit is important right now. Vikings are going to try and clean this up. The Thor's standing strong. Time also has his Raven's alive, but tanks actually evaporate what's left of his army, and suddenly Time has nothing left in SuperNova's base. SuperNova has cleaned this up. He's still got the economy. He's got a few tanks. If we look at the army, it's 4 tanks, 3 Vikings, and a Hellion versus a few Marauders, a few Marines, 2 Ravens, a Medivac. This game is so scrappy, but SuperNova is mining. Time's got this base in the bottom right. Dropping mules is so important here. It is what is keeping Time alive in this game. I mean, look at this. He's on 1 base, but he's got like a 2K income. It's not gonna last, but it may be enough. Oh no, SCV is actually, I don't know how many died there, but apparently Time doesn't need him anymore. Every bit of resources matters in this game, the long distance mining included. So just these few mineral patches, Time says, I will take these. I will take this 600 minerals. And he's still got a few at the space to the back. He's started mining off that as well. Every resource matters. Liberator, actually, if it sieges up on this base, will be huge. SuperNova does have the air control this, so his Vikings will be able to clean this up. Tanks working away on this orbital command. The army for Time. It's not that big, but I mean, Stim Bio in this situation can really steamroll Time. I think he wants to, I mean, how can you break the space? I mean, he needs to, but can he? SuperNova repairing these tanks. Time gonna go for it. Maybe he'll just settle for picking off the tanks and then get out and figure out the rest later. Looks like he will do that. He's gonna get out. Planetary trades off a little bit. But Time actually having a hard time denying this mining. Those Vikings are going to clean this up. If Time could get those, it would be huge. We'll see if SuperNova is going to be able to keep them alive. I think what Time needs right now is a siege tank. I mean, if he could get a siege tank on a planetary, SuperNova would have a very tough time pushing Time off of it. I think that is what Time needs at this point, if he can afford it. I mean, he has no gas, though. I mean, he must have some bases with gas that can be mined. I mean, there's geysers here. Yeah, so he has access to a bit of gas. I mean, it's not much, but I mean, SuperNova attacking what used to be his base. Raven taking damage from an auto or from a missile turret. That's very significant. Resources lost, guys. If we look at this, it's still just so close. It's 800. SuperNova's actually lost a little bit more, but he's had the better economy this game now. And I mean, but Time, he can't break this. He's up on army supply. SuperNova, I mean, he is just hunkered down. How do you break this as Time? I mean, the planetary just has so much health. It's got that armor. And I mean, with all the SCV support, I don't know if Time can do anything. He's just got access to less money. I think a siege tank, I mean, if Time's going for it, though, he's going to try and bring down the planetary. He's going to get the tanks, which is important, but does he have enough bio? I think he needs to focus down the SCVs at this point. He actually gets the planetary. Now he's going to be able to work away. SuperNova's stronghold has been broken. There's just so little for both these guys right now. Time breaks the base, though. He can now start mining from it if he floats over a command center. SuperNova's been doing his own harassment, though, picking off any workers. There's 10 SCVs left in this game. It has been 37 minutes. Time dropping mules. Mules, the real MVP of this game. That orbital is burning down, but Time can float over an orbital to take this base. SuperNova's done a good job with this Hellion harassment, but now that he's been forced off this base, he doesn't have much. He's getting a tank sieged up. SuperNova, I mean, the Vikings and Hellbats are there. Time's army is very overstimmed. A tank has an matrix on it, I mean, but it does go down, and SuperNova does not have much. His ground army is almost nothing. The base in the bottom right, SuperNova can drop a mule. Time's actually engaging this. If SuperNova repairs this, he can trade with so many of these units, but he loses it, and now he's got no economy right now. The army that these guys have is pretty much it. Time is mining down in the bottom right, but this Hellion's coming on in. It's going to start cleaning up these mules. SuperNova, or Time, is mining virtually only at this base at this point. SuperNova forcing these mules off it. Enemy that he kills is important. Time drops more, though. SuperNova needs to deny the space. He needs to do something, but if Time keeps mining and SuperNova doesn't, every unit that he can produce is so important. But if we look at the existing army supply, Time's ahead, yes, but he doesn't have a single medivac. Look at how overstimmed this bio is. Oh, SuperNova needs to be so careful. This Raven he has could be huge. Tank's getting sieged up. He's actually got high ground vision here. He's going to take this fight. Time's going for it. SuperNova's in position, getting more tanks sieged up. Auto turrets are dropping. Does Time have enough to break it? 2 siege tanks left. Everything's going down for SuperNova. GG gets called. Time manages to take it. What a game. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that was an absolutely ridiculous TVT. Guys, I know mirror matchups can get a lot of hate. I mean, I'm a Protoss player. I don't want to watch two Terrans go at it. I'm a Zerg. Why would I see two Terrans? No, this is why you watch StarCraft, because games like this, it doesn't matter. If you know what StarCraft is, you could watch this game and say, StarCraft, this was insane. This is just a standard run-of-the-mill ladder game that these guys went toe-to-toe. And look at this, resources lost at the end. 83,000 for SuperNova, 79,000 for Time. These guys were trading equal the entire game. This was actually one, I think this might have been the closest, the most insane StarCraft 2 game I ever cast. It's just always trading in. This was Blueshift, guys. This is not a big map. This isn't a big mech map. This is just ridiculous how close it was, like, the entire time. But anyway, this has been a fantastic game. If you guys enjoyed this almost 40-minute cast, like, I was thinking about putting a spoiler on at the end to make sure that you couldn't tell by how long the game was who won, but you couldn't tell. It was close up until the last minute. So yeah, if you liked the video, leave a like. If you liked the cast, I'm sure I just threw my voice out if you can do that, but for a 39-minute cast, but this certainly was worth it. Thank you for watching. This has been LaughNgamez.